Welcome back, Lancescurv here. I've been thinking about a topic all day today. I wanted to share it with you. I already wrote an article about it, so it's going to be some parallels there and some points that I have in there and some points that I have on this particular video. But together, it'll be good. I'll share the link below for the article. What I want to say is that you can't expect one person to be everything to you in a relationship. I'm going to say it again. You can't expect one person to be everything to you in a relationship. It doesn't work that way. That's a recipe for burnout. It's too much pressure. But in the modern day, it's a lot different than it used to be in yesteryear. Today we look at social media and we see people with matching outfits. We see people with matching tattoos. We see people professing love for each other on their own pages. Cool. But that's a lot of pressure, y'all. There's a lot of pressure to put out there that you have the perfect relationship, because there's no relationship that's perfect. We live in the days of show and prove online to people who don't even know us and don't even care about us. Back in the day, we didn't have to have that one person to be a perfect person to satisfy every single need. You know why? Because things were slower back then. Things weren't as fast. Things were digestible. You can take your time and eat your food. You can take your time and have a nice long conversation. And you know what? Because things weren't going as fast, the days went slower. Our attention is broken up here, broken up there, and we're trying to do all so much. And even in our relationships, we're trying to pressure the person that we're with, even if it's not pressure, but there's an expectation, and your partner feels that expectation that I have to live up to all of this. I have to be the perfect lover, the ultimate freak. I have to be the person to balance the checkbooks and give good financial advice. I have to be the person to cook good. I have to be the person that's perfect with the kids and take on all the duties with the children if you do have children, right? Everything that this person has to be your therapist also. How many things can you do? And when you have a partner with you and you expect all of this, they feel pressure. They may not tell you, but they're going to feel pressure. So you got to be careful with that. And then there are things that they may expect you to do. Why can't you take the journey together and make it work together? But there's so much burnout. Back 100 years ago, let's just say 150, 100 years ago, before all of this electronic stuff and social media, we thought less thoughts. We didn't have all of this pressure to emulate the next person, to look like the next person, to act like them and try to rival them. From sitting at home. Understand that. It's brain overload in other people's lives, and that affects our relationships. We're sitting here scrolling from the comfort of our own home. You could be anywhere else, but just say home. And you see people that had their perfect birthday parties, their perfect anniversaries, their perfect retirement parties, their perfect this, their perfect that. They're not going to tell you the jacked up part of their lives. I'm not saying people cannot have a nice life if they work for it. The majority of their life, working well for them. But they put out so much stuff, and we look at it and we think, oh my God, I got to look like this. I have to make this much money. I have to do, no. But the thing is, this is the pressure that we put on ourselves because of what we see. And we think when we have a little issue inside of our relationship that we are subpar, that we're less than. Some of the people putting up the pictures of a perfect life don't always have that perfect life. It doesn't work that way. So expect that it's not about pressuring the person to do everything, but you take this journey together. You work together. You're going to have flaws. No one is perfect in any one area of life. They're not perfect. Understand that. Even when they're very good in a certain slice of life, they're not perfect in either. So this pressure to be all of this, or you're looking for a mate, you're open for a mate, you kind of know what's a deal killer, right? There's certain things you're not going to tolerate, but it's not going to be 100% across the board. And too many people will mislead you thinking that they are perfect, right? You look at the picture. And this is a problem. We scroll too much. We already have this ready-made template, like I said on the other video. We already have this ready-made template of this woman, I'm a man speaking, this woman has to look this way. Or if you're a woman, well, this man has to be this way. And you mess yourselves up before you even meet a mate that is agreeable with you, that may not come off as the ideal that you thought was the perfect person for you. Again, there's no perfect person for you. You walk in rhythm. You walk in unison. You walk this path together. You're flawed, she's flawed, or you're flawed and he's flawed, and you see what you can tolerate, right? You're not going to tolerate certain things. Certain things are deal breakers. Women, you don't want no nasty man, okay? You don't want somebody who's going to sit up and play PlayStation all day and not have a job, and you go out and work all day. And there are women who tolerate that. I understand that. To each his own. Because many of us, just on a humorous note, we'll see a couple and they're grossly mismatched according to our standards, but it seems to work for them. How many times have we seen a woman that you halfway knew or knew walking down the street and you on the steps say, see them over there? I don't know why. I don't know how she can tolerate that or tolerate him. That guy's a bum. You know, or the height difference, which is superficial, or who earns more money. She earns way more money than him. And look at him. He's doing DoorDash. And she's an executive. That's not your business. If it works for them, leave it alone. Find out what works for you. But if you are in a relationship where you have somebody that expects you to be perfect all of the time, you have to sit them down and talk to them, because that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to last too long. It's got to be some measure of compromise. But this is another reason people rush into things too fast. They go for the superficial, or they believe what they see in this person, what they project out, which may not be authentic. They're only doing this, some of them, the fraudulent ones, because they know what you're looking for, so they have to cover up that weak point in their life to get in. They get into your life figuring that, well, once I get with him, he'll have to deal with it, or she'll have to deal with it. Falsehoods. You're looking for perfection and you putting out a falsehood of yourself. How's that? It took time before. You want this person to be your friend also. Of course. You laying up in the bed with them. You're getting intimate with them. You don't want them to be your enemy, right? But you want them to be friends. And you want them to be a good friend and sometimes a best friend. I have no problem with that. But again, compare it to back in the day where men had several friends, maybe male friends. And that took the pressure off of like the modern day woman, right? Where we expect her to be a friend 24/7, but maybe now or then she had people that she can confide in that were women. Right? So that took the load off of, it has to be just my man, and it has to be closed in, and we have to be everything to each other. Yes, you want to be everything to each other without the pressure of just being so exclusive in every category. You want your woman to be your friend. I'm speaking as a man. You want your woman to help balance out the checkbook, so if you see something that we're doing wrong in our spending and it's throwing us off, you want them in every way that way, but you have to be that way too. And some will be more percentage-wise, and we have to just round each other out. But back in the old days, let's just say it that way. Say 100 years ago, you had brothers that would say, hey, bro, I want to talk to you, man. I'm having a problem at home. You know, you go to an elder, you go to somebody who's a little wise, but now we don't do that anymore. So everything is focused at home. Provided you're in a relationship and you have a home together, or if not, but you're planning to get together, right? We're doing it all wrong. We jumped past the steps. We had community back then. We don't have community. We have neighbors. We don't even have neighbors anymore. If you do, there might be some weirdos, or they're envious of you, or you don't want to go to them with that. The whole makeup of society has changed so much. Think about that, how fast it's changed. We think we can come with these modern day rules and modern day standards, which are not really standards. It's just something too fast. We can still live in the present, but we should go back to the old way of doing things. There's nothing like going back to the old way of doing things. Because then things were slower. We had multiple relationships. I'm not saying sexual relationships, but proximities to other people where the weight of putting everything on one person was relieved. There's nothing wrong with having other people to talk to. And I don't mean talk to. Talk to is a funny word these days. Oh, I used to talk to him. I used to talking. You know what that meant in this present day. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about decent relationships where men have male friendships, where iron sharpens iron. You get to talk to each other and grow and share your experiences. But these days, many men are such bitchs, you can't even have that. It's very hard to find a man, a brother to talk to really put it down from experiences or really share your vulnerabilities, share your strong points, share your experiences. We don't have that these days. And if you do have that, you're blessed. Many of our sisters don't have that. I can't tell them anything. I can't trust them. They're going to put my business all over the place. They did that back then too, but it was less ways of doing it. Now you grab your phone, hit a button, send out a message, send out one message to 15 other people who gossip with you, and that person's business is all over the world. It's all over the street. So now we don't trust. There's a breakdown in our community, and we put too much pressure on our significant other to be every single thing, and we got to back up from that. And even when you speak to them, say, listen, sweetheart, you're good at this area in your life and you feel as though you're struggling. You told me this, but don't feel the pressure. We'll get through this together. That's the only way to circumvent and get over that pressure, is to talk. And don't feel funny when your mate has healthy relationships with other people, because back in the day, we had more time. But we didn't have time to sit around all day and gossip, because we had to get that food, we had to work, we had to take care of children, and little time you have together to whisper over the fence or speak on something. Not that you're gossiping, but that person you can go to, which could be your mate. Especially when we give ourselves extra room. Because if you're a man or a woman who's putting this kind of pressure on your mate, or you're disappointed that they didn't live up to this imagery that you had in your head of them, or something false that they put out of them that made you think that they were so perfect, that's too much pressure. Be real. Look into it. Expect that that's not what it is, and take your time. We don't take our time. Remember back in the day, and I mentioned this on other shows, other podcast episodes, where you can go, and this a couple decades ago, you can go down to a factory. I mean, I'm not just saying that's all you're able to do, but you can go to a factory, walk into the factory, go to where they're hiring, a little office, and fill out an application and get a job that had a pension, get a job that you can be on for 20 or 25 years. We'll give you a little raise every now and then. You got to know the people. It was almost like an extended family, and life was good. Now, if you expect that, it ain't happening. So there's a lot of areas of our life that are uncertain and that we have to evolve with, that we remember when we were younger, if you're a certain age, but it's not like that no more. The whole dating game is not like that no more. You don't know what you're getting involved with. The pickings are slim. The physical bodies are there, but the pickings are slim. Because you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. You don't know their standard and their morale. Look, I mean, you might be out there playing, another person playing, meaning just sleeping around, or they don't care about marriage right now, whatever, but you really have to ask, even when they say that they are interested in wanting to be in a long-term relationship. That's the funny part. I saw a show today on YouTube. I treated myself to a little sushi, right? And I'm sitting there, and I wasn't going to put anything on, but I said, you know what? My mind is at ease. Let me check. I scroll a little bit. I scroll sometime, not all the time. And I saw this particular talk show. I believe it's just an online talk show, right? Pretty good. And it was an older man who was dating and eventually engaged to a younger woman. I would say that he was in his middle 60s, and she was probably like 31, 32, 33 in there, right? And she had him on this show to clarify and discover, to figure out if he was cheating on her. And I forgot the name. If I remember it, I'll put it down in the description area. But toward the end of the show, when they want to find out what's going on, they have a section where they say, okay, let's unlock the phones. Because your phone has all of your personal stuff in there, and you forget, that thing can be opened, and your whole world and how you're really living can be revealed. She was accusing him of stopping after work for 2 hours, and he was saying, listen, he walks his dog. She was accusing him of text messages and different things without any proof at all, but she was going in on this guy. And you don't know what's what. Is this a 30-year-old man, or is this a guy who's old now and still wants to play? We didn't know. Well, they went through his stuff. There was permission given, granted. And all of the questions that she had about him, infidelity, cheating, spending time with other women, wrong. Nothing was found on the phone. Nothing. But she had to have hers unlocked. And when you know that she was on several dating apps, she was prostituting, talking about how much she's going to charge to have sex with these different men. I think she made like 451 dates over so many years. And this man was heartbroken. Why would you do that? And you're accusing your mate of doing the same thing you're doing. That's the way it usually goes. When you're doing something, you pretty much will throw off to deflect the attention from coming to you. But this is amazing how people can put up fronts, put up facades, and you think, and he was so happy in the beginning. He thought he had something good. And everybody else, the whole town was laughing at him. I'll say it that way, like that old Teddy Pendergrass song, the whole town's laughing at me. What was that, 78, 79, around then? But yeah, he didn't know anything. He cried because he was really into her. And he was really going to give his shot at making a good relationship, and she's looking at him this way. Even his daughter came on and said that she didn't like this woman. I could see right through her. Right? Because see, the man had a 20-year plus marriage with another woman that was a great relationship, and she died. That's the reality. And he wasn't desperate, running around looking for anybody, but he found this person, and he invested time in her, and he did it the old-fashioned way, right? And he wasn't doing anything wrong. It can happen both ways that way, where the guy's doing something the wife doesn't know, or the person you're interested in doesn't know. But they don't even have a base. They didn't even have a foundation. I mean, how was that going to work out when they got closer, and if they got married and had a home life together and responsibilities in that? Because you got to remember, you're building something. These days, a lot of the younger folks, and I'm not just going to say just the younger folks, but a lot of older folks too, but they have no concept of what this thing is all about. What is the first and foremost thing on the top of your list when you get with this person? Some people will say of the younger generation, I'm saying in general, I'm not saying all, but, the sex got to be good. Huh? That's the first thing? That's on there and that's important, but the first thing is the sex got to be good? I saw other programs and I read other articles where you had the different age groups divided up and what was important in a relationship. They got to look good. Right? Of course, you want them to be attractive. The older folks, there were several categories. I'll just say the older folks, they said, some people wrote on there that when I was younger, I thought that way, but now that's not the most important thing. The integrity, the faithfulness, being able to work together, let's build something together. Because at the end of the day, you can leapfrog from one relationship to the other and have all of these bodies. You can have a high body count. You can lie about it. You can leapfrog and make all these soul ties. But the bottom line is nothing beats when you're together with somebody. And I've said this before, when you can sit back and say, you know what? Remember back when? Remember when we had our first child? Remember when we were turned down for that mortgage, but we worked real hard, improved our credit score, and got something better? And the neighborhood that we wanted to go in ended up being worse. Remember how you beat cancer Yeah, baby. And you stuck with me the whole way. Just those kind of things. Because I'm telling you, even earlier today, I had to make some runs round and about. No pressure. Because I pressure myself. Because a lot of times I leave here, I'm like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there, I'm going to come back. And I'm doing it too fast. I want to enjoy more now. I don't want to even feel pressured when I'm doing something of content creation. Life is going so fast. It really is. And as I was listening to music earlier, and I took a nap, and the different songs that were playing, and the things that I was thinking, how precious certain few are to me, I even had to pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I'm having a moment. I was in tears. And I said, listen, I just want to say to you how much you mean to me, how much you've enriched my life, how much you're a blessing from the Creator at this particular period of my life. You got to do that. You're going to feel bad if you don't do that. For the ones who are real, I don't go to some fake person hating on you, some narcissist. No, let them go. Look, some people say, well, they'll come around. No. Does the garbage come around? When you take packages and you throw old food stuff that's in the fridge that's getting rotten, it shouldn't get rotten. You should be getting rid of it. But just things that will attract flies and vermin and rats and mice and different things, you don't wait for it to, you get rid of it. You put it outside, you send it to the trash. You have to turn over. But the good people in your life, you got to acknowledge them. Bring up a memory, talk about it, let them know you love them, right? You should have more than one person that you can do this with, right? Your spouse is number one. They come first. You have to protect them, motivate them, let them know how you feel all the time. Understood. But when we have an extended family, like we used to in the old school times, the old days, even if you lived in a crowded apartment building somewhere in Harlem or somewhere in Washington Heights, those people looked out for each other. Didn't you see Annie Mae? I haven't seen her in 3 days. We need to go check up on her. You know, she might have fall down and had a seizure or something and had no family. We have to be family for each other. There's certain people that come into your life that they're there to two-face you, use you, and they don't like you. No, we don't want that. But somehow, some way, the good people come together. So when I made that phone call, there was one phone call I made, and I've done that to other people in my circle. I was in tears. I'm not going to lie. I'm not some macho man. I'm not going to tell you how I felt. I didn't start it out that way, and it was a message. But the feeling it took me over, because more and more these days, I'm getting them phone calls where I'm finding out they're good friends and good. My family's small. My family's extremely small. And it's big too, but there's contacts that were lost. I'll explain that. But I consider those friends my family, right? And I'm getting these calls too much. And who's to say? We're in this age group. People die when they're 20, people die when they're 10. I know a buddy of mine died when he was 14. Still think about him. Of course, we don't have adult memories, but that's very important. To undergird yourself, not only in your relationship, but those relationships that you have in this life that will support your relationship. Respect your relationship. That's a big thing too. You have people that come into your life, they don't want to respect it. They want to be cool with you and hate on your husband, hate on your wife. And if you're a real wife, a real husband, you're going to be ride or die. No matter what. Even if you are having troubles or problems or issues in your life, nobody crosses that line. And the hell with anybody who think that they can. There are rules to this thing. And these days, we don't have those rules and way of doing things anymore. But the bottom line is, right now, in this modern day, you can't expect your spouse, your engagement partner, the person that you're interested in, to be every single thing. That's too much pressure. That's the internet putting things in your head. Everything is AI'd up. Everything is airbrushed up. Everything is pornoed up. It's just too much pressure. Look at the individual attributes of that person and appreciate them for what they have and their willingness to grow. They have to be willing to grow, but it shouldn't be on a timetable or pressure where you're pressuring them. work along with them. We have so many factions of our being. And even if you're up in age, even if you're 50 or 60 years old, there's still things that you have to improve in. Look, you're going to transition imperfect. Hopefully when you leave this earth, you'll be better than you ever were before, but there's always going to be unfinished work and unfinished business on you as a person getting better. Just think about that, but there's no pressure because there's so many different areas. And you have to ask the person you're with, listen, sweetheart, how can I be a better husband? You know, just like you have a job evaluation, right? Now, they shouldn't be down your back every day. You need to do this, and you need, no, but it comes time. Every time period, you designate that every 6 months, every year, every 3 months, every month. You should have the desire to be a better mate instead of chasing around your mate and accusing them for something that they're not doing when you know they're not doing anything. Make yourself better. Make sure you're a better catch. That you won't have to think about those things because you know that the spouse that you have is not going to want to lose you because you're getting better and better instead of descending into nothingness and getting worse. Like so many people do when they get that person. Okay, I got him. I don't have to keep in shape. I'll let my belly get big, just like a woman in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. You have to hold a certain standard, you know, but you can't have these unreal expectations, and that's the bottom line. There's so many different categories that we expect our mate to excel in and be everything. Well, if you put that out there, why don't you work on yourself? But too many of us in this day and age, we want everything and nothing to give back in return. And that's the beginning of the end. Let me know what you think about this. Bring up some more topics, because that one topic we can speak on 50 different things off the cuff. Or if you know anybody who's going through things like this, where they feel that kind of pressure, let's talk about it. Lancescurvx.com. We can talk about it there. We can do live shows about it. But there's so much to be improved. And this modern day just wants the quick fix. And that's where the problems start. Much love to you all. Lancescurv out. Thanks for coming around. On to the next one. Hope to see you there. Peace.